Hello everyone, and today we're going to talk about the Diablo 4 beta, more specifically the open beta and my impressions of it. Now I know the beta was last week, but this is me just getting around to record my impressions of it. I did play it for about 9-10 hours I put into it, so I put quite a bit of time over the open beta weekend. Didn't take part in the previous beta because I haven't pre-ordered it, because I don't pre-order games anymore. Basically, because too many bad experiences with pre-ordering games. But the open beta, I found the queue times were okay. On the Friday night, the queue times were pretty bad. I had to wait, I think, 35 minutes to get in, and then it just timed out, and then I had to wait another 20 minutes to get in. I played most of it on the Xbox Series X. I did download the PC version and the Series X version. Didn't have time to download the PS5 version. The reason why I went for Series X, Xbox and PC was because my Blizzard account, Battle.net account, is linked on the Xbox side. So the good news is you can do cross progression, which is good, between platforms. That's good news. I didn't know you could do that. Couldn't do it in Diablo 3 or Diablo 2, the remake. Diablo, what was it, Resurrected Edition. You couldn't do that on that. So that was pretty nice to know that if you make a character on PC, you will do it on the Xbox. And the reason why I played it more on the Series X was, yeah, it does perform better on the PC, and yes, it does look better, but the PC version was just unstable. There was a lot of memory leaks. I mean, I've never seen the VRAM usage go so high. 27 gigabytes of, sorry, system RAM, not VRAM. 27 gigabytes of system RAM it was using. Thank God I got 32 gigs, but yeah, that's total system RAM. That's Windows and the game and the recording software, I take it. But I've never seen it that high in a game before, the total system usage. So a few issues there. It did crash quite a few times. The Xbox Series X, I never had any crashes. Never really had anything major. Whenever you went into a new area, it would rubber band slightly. That was just network. That was just the network would just push you back and forward. You'd see your character kind of rubber banding, and you see other characters, other players in the world. Because Diablo 4 is a kind of pseudo MMO. It's not a full-on MMO, but it is a kind of pseudo MMO. In the towns, you're gonna see other players wandering around, and in the sort of open areas, the non-dungeon areas, we'll say, there are other players wandering about, and you can you can group up together and kill enemies and do quests together. There's also public quests as well, that you can join. You just kind of go into the area. There's like a little red circle around the public quest area, and you just kind of walk into that to join the quest. And if you could just team up dynamically, similar to Guild Wars 2, where you can just run in and, kill enemies. It's usually basic tasks that you have to do. Kill an enemy, defend. There was one where you had to stand on a pressure plate for a certain amount of time while enemies attacked you, and that was pretty interesting. There were the usual kind of Diablo type challenges, but this time you get other players to help you out. So it is an always online game, similar to Diablo 3. But where it differs, is in the gameplay for Diablo. Diablo 3 I always thought was a kind of arcade action RPG. You had things like you had the combo kills and things like that you had to get, where you would get every 10 of them, you would get the gold orb that dropped. What was it? The Nephilim Glory, I think it was called, and it improved your damage. And then every 10 kills, you would get extra XP, and you would get extra damage boosts from that. And if you destroyed objects, you got a movement speed boost. Things like that you got in Diablo 3. It always struck me as very arcadey, and it was very fast paced. Diablo 4 is more, it's more like the sequel to Diablo 2 kind of thing in terms of its gameplay style. It is a bit slower. It's a bit more methodical. I like the way they've put the dodge on a cooldown this time. In Diablo 3, you didn't have a dodge on the PC version, but on the console version, you could just flick the right analog stick in whatever direction you wanted to dodge in. And this had no cooldowns. It made some encounters easier with a controller. Should point out as well, on the PC version this time, there is full controller support, which is good, because I just prefer Diablo with a controller. I'm sorry if that's sacrilege, but that is my preference, with Diablo games. And Diablo 3, you kind of had to mod it to get controller support. It never quite worked right. I actually preferred the console version of Diablo 3. It was my most played game on the Nintendo Switch. I liked it playing it on the go. I love playing Diablo 3. The rifts that you could do, the Nephilim rifts that you could do, were kind of good for little like short sessions on the go. So that was one of my most played games on the Nintendo Switch. Surprisingly, I liked it. It ran at 60 FPS as well on the Nintendo Switch, in handheld and in portable mode. So I think it's going to be different. There's no Switch version of Diablo 4. Wouldn't run. It probably won't run on the Switch. Graphically is one of the areas where you'll see a massive improvement. Visually, again on the PC, it looked really good. It ran really well on the PC. It was about 150 FPS, but it's a pity that to me, it felt really unstable. Again, it just crashed so many times. So I ended up putting more hours in on the Xbox Series X there. And again, I think it is 60 FPS. It felt pretty smooth there. There was no options to change the resolution or prioritize frame rate or anything like that. On the PC, it ran at like 150 FPS. Because I couldn't change the value, the maximum FPS value. But I think it did cap out. And I did try and enable DLSS. I did have a lot of issues with the PC version. There was updating things in the menu felt broken. Like the user interface was kind of a thing you would click on, like save changes, and it just wouldn't do it. And then I had a bug where it kicked me back to the character selection screen, and there was no characters on the character selection screen, so it wouldn't let me play it. I'd click play. I got stuck as well on the character creator screen. I created my character on the PC, and luckily we were able to continue it on the Xbox. But then when I loaded up the PC version, or I got kicked out of the game and went back into it, the character had disappeared. And I thought, oh, I've lost my character. I hadn't made much progress. I'd only played for about 5-10 minutes before it crashed. But it was still annoying. I did get stuck. Created my character and got stuck in the character creator screen for 20 minutes before it would load. Again, I thought it had crashed. You could move things around. You can move around, but nothing. It just took so long to load. The queue times I didn't find were too bad after the initial Friday. You know, there was never really any queues on the European server. Maybe people had just given up on it, but I never found that it was that bad. On the Series X, it was fine. Network wise, we did have saw a few rubber banding issues again. Mostly when you went into a new area, you saw it with other players going into a new area. But things like, I think the dungeons and like the major kind of story areas, they're all instanced off. You probably can go in and co-op. I'd imagine you could in Diablo 3. So you know, hopefully that's still the case, that you could do it with a friend if you invite them to a party. I never really checked out a lot of the multiplayer stuff. I did pick a rogue. The rogue was quite an interesting class, actually. You do get the choice. You do get more of a choice, especially over Diablo 3, in how you want to play your class. The skill tree system has made a comeback, at least in Diablo 4. And you do get the choice between melee, and for a rogue at least, you get the choice. You can play a melee class with 2 swords or 2 daggers or whatever you want. You can dual wield weapons, or you can play a ranged class with a bow or a crossbow. And again, I'd end up going with the ranged class just because it was a bit easier. You can dabble in things like traps as well. You've got like the poison attacks, shadow magic. I got a bit of shadow magic. Again, it just tags them with you can imbue your weapon with shadow damage, which does more AoE damage. Basically, the enemy explodes when they die. So that deals out additional damage. I thought that was quite a fun way to play. It was good for clearing out tons of mobs, I think, especially when they were packed close together. The rogue was pretty good at that. I never tried any of the other classes. You could get the necromancer, the barbarian, the druid, and the sorcerer is the wizard. I was going to say there, but the wizard was Diablo 3. So you've got the sorcerer in Diablo 4. No paladin though. Where's my paladin? Where's my crusader / paladin? That's what I was playing in Diablo 2. Probably will get added in a later expansion. But yeah, that was my impressions of the beta. I did play quite a lot of it. I finished the story. or the story in the beta up to the point that you could play through in the beta. I think you play through most of Act 1. And I have to say, the story was pretty decent. Like, I never really was that invested in Diablo's story. I kind of just skipped the cutscenes, especially in Diablo 3. I never wanted to stay a while and listen, but I did find the story was pretty interesting. And you did get a huge chunk. I think the level cap was 25 in the beta. I got up to level 22. You could do side quests. You could do things like that. Were pretty good. They were always. Some of them were quite interesting, but the main story quest I thought was reasonably good. I mean, I was surprised at just how interested I was in the story, because again, I don't really pay much attention. But anyway, the Diablo 4 it launches in June. I think I'll pick it up. Probably gonna get it on Series X, because the PC version, I do have some PC footage in this and some Xbox, but it is mostly Xbox footage that I've got. It's mostly in the early leveling. When I was doing one of the dungeons, I recorded most of the footage, but I did play quite a bit into it, and I did get into it. I think it was, I think it is an improvement on Diablo 3 overall. I think it is. Certainly visually, it's a massive upgrade. But gameplay wise, I like the skill tree systems. I like the fact you get to choose, your play style, which is pretty interesting. The rogue had some interesting choices, so I might play the rogue when the game comes out. Who knows? Maybe the classes probably will change between now and June, I'd imagine. But there's no more betas, which is sad to see, but I think I'll definitely pick this one up. Probably just avoid it at launch to avoid all the login queues. But I don't know what platform to pick it up on. On the one hand, the PC version, yes, looks better, runs at more than 3 times the frame rate nearly of the Series X. But to me, it was unstable. So hopefully the launch version. I might wait a while after launch to pick it up. Anyway, but yeah, overall, I had fun in it, and it went from a game that I was kind of interested in to now, yeah, I really want this game. This is now one of my most anticipated games of 2023 now. I kind of like, oh, yeah, I really like this now, because I put a lot of hours into Diablo 3, and I did pick up Diablo 2 on the Xbox Series X. There's a theme going here, Maybe I should just wait until, Microsoft takes over Activision Blizzard and get it on Game Pass, maybe. Who knows? But I think I'll definitely buy it. But anyway, that is all for this video. So thank you for joining me. We'll see you again soon, and goodbye.